Hi, this is Cheryl with another movement exploration. This is coming out of work to support performance in doing Tai Chi work. And so this is an exploration that, often the work of Tai Chi really asks people to really get into a kind of deeper inner mobility around moving in their hip joints and, opening and closing those hip joints in a way that usually exceeds what people normally do in their lives. And so this is an exploration to kind of help open that up and to, sometimes we've got tight sort of muscles right in our hip rotators, right, inside of our groins that they can do extra work. When you go to open your leg, they can catch or they can hold on. And so this is an exploration just to explore ways to work with that and open up a sort of fuller range of movement and just become more conscious of how you're moving your legs within your hip joint and also how your pelvis moves around the top of your femur head. So, did this exploration lying on her back. And just to start with, the most basic sense of like, how can you release a leg down? And initially, it's good to really, be clear about this movement happens because my leg's moving in the hip joint rather than like moving your pelvis to sort of move your legs. And so it could be helpful just to contrast that, isolate the moving of one leg and then the other leg, and then start to look at like, how is it different when the pelvis moves and then the legs come down? But, explored a couple options. And so one way to really get at, to isolate this, bring one leg long and then explore opening this leg and then closing it. If you do find you have a lot of catches, it can be helpful to kind of give yourself some resistance. So with a hand, you could use a resistance band so that you're resisting a little on the way out and then resisting a little on the way in. Ironically, getting some of these muscles that are sort of helping out to do work so that they can kind of, let go when they're not needed. And so checking back into, how this works, how this is possible, and then of course trying that on the other side to work with that leg and that hip, and notice, there might be differences in what you have, or is possible on one side or the other. The other thing that's really helpful is to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the back of your waistband and in the front sort of seam of your pants. And so just exploring a little bit, noticing if you have a kind of natural arch happening, if you flatten that waistband a little and then let your leg go down, or if you actually find a way to kind of lengthen your pubic bone down between your legs, and then explore what difference does having kind of a little bit of activation in the back of your waist and in this lengthening of your pelvis to open up that movement of your legs. And so what's really helpful though is to take this exploration into being more upright and into the Tai Chi form itself. And so what can be really helpful, especially whatever form that you're doing of it, to kind of notice what's going on in terms when your pelvis is moving and when your legs are moving in your hip joints. So, I work with the long yang form. And so just from commencement and this first movement, to notice, there's both the turn of the leg starts and then the pelvis, and then a movement of the pelvis forward to set up that first position. But then you can track that through the form. So putting leg out, turning, bringing your pelvis over your foot so that then you can track that movement. And, this is in service of making that clear in your form. But also I find when you have clarity about these kind of relationships, and your pelvis and your leg, super important relationship when doing Tai Chi, that can lead to a certain ease, a certain skeletal quality that just requires less effort to work your way through the form. So, something to explore, to notice what works for yourself. And so enjoy, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great movement day.